Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Mindy Joe News Show, where I share news that you can absolutely use. Today, we meet up with an investment portfolio manager. We'll talk about some great health tips and much, much more. Let's get right to it. In honor of Fashion Week in New York, I decided to, why not, put some fashions together. I think I have a little bit of fashion sense. Hey, why not? Let me know what you guys think. Well, I'm more than certain many people are camped out all across the Apple stores in the U.S. right now. Yeah, that's right. They're in line to purchase the newly released iPhone 6 along with the smartwatch. Yeah, so I just also want to just remind you, bear in mind that voting, yes, that's right, voting is fast approaching. And just maybe, Siri can help you locate the nearest poll location. And don't worry about waiting in line. That smartwatch, it'll take care and manage that time for you. But hey, just in case you haven't received your voter's registration card in the mail, I just want to encourage you to contact your nearest, your city, your local voter's registration office and make sure you're able to vote. That's just a suggestion, all right? Well, in today's sports news, yes, football season is here. And I won't disclose my team, but my team did disappoint, so I won't disclose it. But hey, nonetheless, I'm more than certain the next game they will pull it through. Well, despite the literacy challenge, Money Mayweather, yes, he will not disappoint this weekend in Las Vegas in the ring. Yes, it's going down Saturday, Showtime. Be sure to watch that fight. Well, just in case you aren't able to get to Vegas and your budget, just allows for you to stay here locally, DC champ Dusty Hernandez, he'll be facing his opponent at the hometown takeover at DAR Constitution Hall, and that's going to be on September 27th. Also, DC champion Mike Yes Indeed Reed, he has a fight in Atlantic City on October 4th at Bally's. So be sure to, go down to Atlantic City and check that out as well. Well, today's health news. How many glasses of water have you had? Or shall I say bottles of water? Well, it's very, very important that you stay hydrated. I found myself recently in the emergency room and I had to have an IV because I was dehydrated. Although I work out, I sometimes take small bottles of water, which I should probably increase that to, keep these bottle sizes. But nonetheless, I want to suggest to everyone, keep water with you, Powerade, Gatorade, something to keep you hydrated. Yeah, that's going to help out. Well, in some not so great news, former NFL player Ray Rice, the Baltimore Ravens player, he was just recently released due to some footage which was shown all across the U.S. And everywhere, the world, pretty much. It showed him. He spat on his fiance and then did a Mortal Kombat finisher move on her. And I just want to say, the Mindy Joe News Show, we do not, under any circumstance, condone violence of any kind, any type of abuse. So, furthermore, it just seems to be a double standard on abuse. And the World Wide Web, violence seems to be acceptable. However, in the real world, it isn't tolerated. Let's just be careful of our domestic violence advocacy efforts. And so here's the people's question. Is it okay to verbally abuse, slander, and threaten people on social media, all the while still advocating for domestic violence in the real world. And this is abuse against every gender, every race. So here's a challenge. Let's just take a second to think before we post any negative comments under someone else's profile. I mean, because after all, that's their profile. It doesn't belong to you. So, remember that saying, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So, just keep that in mind. Well, money, baby, money, baby, money, baby. Yes, in today's money market news, I had the pleasure of meeting New Level Investments portfolio manager, Mr. Newsom. Take a look at some great money market tips. And I tell you what, I really have a habit of spending it before I get it sometimes. So meeting with Mr. Newsom really did help me. So just take a look. I'm more than certain it can help you and actually start you on a secure path for financial security. All right, take a look.
Hi, my name is Ralph Newsom II, Portfolio Manager at New Level Investment Management, LLC.
Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Newsom. I greatly appreciate it. So let's get right to it. Most viewers, such as myself, have a big habit of spending it before we get it. And, just give us a few ways of, or should I say advice,
Right.
as to some saving, rules to saving, tips to saving.
Tips to saving? Good question. So I think in order to save, a budget is pretty much the bloodline of where your finances pretty much begin and end. So as simple as creating a spreadsheet, jotting down your assets versus your liabilities, figuring out ways to basically do analysis to cut back and control your spending. So always start with a budget. That way you can. An example would be, last month I spent $100 on lunch, or I spent $50 on coffee and things, takeout food and going out. So once you pretty much pinpoint how much you're spending on each category, then you can pretty much start to break down where my money is going and what can I do to prevent that from happening in the future.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
Now, for those who don't have that habit
Right.
and they are actually saving,
Yes.
what is an investment?
Good question. So to me, I define the word investment as anything that I start out with will eventually grow over time. So I'm a stock guy. So everything I'm going to speak about today is going to be related to the stock market. So when I basically buy a company or buy into a company, I'm going to start out with X amount of dollars for the initial investment, and then I'm hoping, and after doing all the research with time, that investment is going to increase. So anything that you really want to see grow, I always use an analogy or the example of, if you want to plant an apple tree, what do you start with? You start with a seed, right? You put that in the ground, and then over time that tree is going to emerge. So to me, that's an investment, or an example of an investment.
Oh, thank you for that.
Sure.
So what is a long-term investment versus a short-term investment?
Good question. So without getting into the weeds, I'll give you the technical definition. Long-term investment is any investment or asset held over a year. Short-term is anything held under a year. So for tax purposes, the IRS, of course, is going to treat your long-term versus your short-term very differently. I'm not a tax accountant, so I always advise my clients to definitely speak with a tax accountant, but my advice is always to hold an asset or an investment for the long-term purposes, because the tax benefits that you get are overwhelming.
Thank you. Recently, I was watching the news. I won't say which source, but I ran across a snippet of Dollar General and Dollar Tree are discussing a possible merge.
Yeah.
Would this be considered a good investment opportunity?
So that's a very tricky. Well, I'm not going to say a tricky question. First off, let's back up a little bit. So there's a triangle, if you will, with three companies in this dollar space. So you have Family Dollar, you have Dollar Tree, and then Dollar General. Family Dollar is actually a company that's being targeted by two other companies. So that's Dollar General and Dollar Tree. They both want Family Dollar. Dollar General's offer, I believe both offers were $80 per share for the takeover of the company. In this space, your low cost goods space, Walmart is still the elephant in the room. So without really diving into the technical aspects of which company is better for investment purposes, I still like Walmart overall. So in this space, Walmart is still the elephant in the room. They pretty much control the brick and mortar aspect of that business. Amazon is the online giant. So in this space, I still kind of like Walmart a little bit better, but you would think with consolidation of either Dollar General and Family Dollar or Dollar Tree and Family Dollar, that with less competition, that should bode well for the remaining companies. So I would still probably lean more towards Walmart, but you may be able to find a good opportunity in either one of those, Dollar General or Dollar Tree.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
So what amount of money or capital, shall I say, should one start with when considering investing?
Right. So I always get asked this question, right? There is no such thing as a minimum amount. My advice is to invest early and invest often. So even if it's $50 a month, as long as you're doing it at the early age or early stage in your life, and as long as you're doing consistently, over time, your investment will build. It's something called compound interest, right? So just to break that down quickly, I always give this same example. You see a house for sale, right? It's $200,000. You love this house, you go and purchase this house, right? So you get a 30-year fixed mortgage, 4 or 5% interest rate. Stay in a home for 30 years, and instead of you only paying $200,000, you've now paid $400,000, right? Because the $200,000 was the principal or the amount that it cost you to buy the home, and the other $200,000 is the interest that you're now paying. Well, that interest is compound interest. And I always tell people that's the bad side of compound interest. Use the good side of compound interest, which is invest in the markets. Your investment will build over time with compound interest. So use that compound interest, put that to work for you. Get started early. It's all about time in the market, and that's how your investment will grow.
Oh, thank you so much. And what is a great age, to consider investing?
So the great Warren Buffett started investing when he was, I believe, 11 years old. And of course, he's one of the world's greatest investors. So it's all about getting in the market early as possible. If you're a parent, get your kids started immediately. Point out different products that they're currently wearing, Nikes, things of that nature, and teach them how to, instead of buying the product, buy the stock. So really encourage your kids to get in as early as possible. If you're an adult, start now. People always say, well, I don't have enough money, or I don't know how to get started, or when should I start, or I'm going to start when I'm 50. No, that's the wrong time to start. The time to start is when you're early 20s, your early 30s. Really get in, because again, that compound interest is going to build over time, and it's going to work for you.
Thank you so much for that. What is the best quarter should one consider investing?
Yeah, so there's an old saying, sell in May and go away, which says historically the markets usually have a down month in May, which I believe is what the second quarter. September kind of has like the same notion usually, or not usually, but historically, the market hasn't done well in September, so that's what the third quarter. But I'm a firm believer that there's no such thing as trying to time the market. That's the biggest way to miss out on big gains. So just buy stocks that are cheap, buy stocks that are trading at a discount, buy good companies, and regardless of if the market is in a down market or if it's in an up market, you're going to win out in the end.
Oh, well, thank you for that.
As a portfolio manager at New Level, I use two different strategy types. There's a growth strategy and there's a value strategy. Basically, the growth strategy, I kind of look for younger companies that are growing revenues 15 to 20% or more a year. And I'll give you a couple examples of those in a second. And then from a value standpoint, those are usually your more mature companies that have been around. They're not growing as rapidly. They're probably plateaued a little bit. But they're good value, meaning that they're trading at a discount. So for the growth companies, I'll give you two. I really love Facebook. They're growing their earnings like wildfire right now. I believe the last quarter they did something like 39% revenue increase. They really figured out the mobile game. They got a couple things in the product pipeline that's coming out that I really think is going to increase revenues with that company. And my second growth company is Under Armour. I really love what they're doing in that space as well. They're growing revenues around 25% a year. They're really going to give Nike some competition in the shoe game as well. So I really like that company. They're really hitting on all cylinders. And for my two value picks, I like Apple. Technically, Apple is a little bit more expensive than, say, a regular value stock. But because they pay a dividend and they're still growing, this is a company you can't ignore. So I really like Apple. Again, like Facebook, they have a lot of things coming down the pipeline. They just had their release of their new iPhone and, of course, the iWatch and their payment system, which I really think are three key things that are going to boost revenues. And then for my second value pick, I love Sallie Mae. Right now, there's like 40 million college students that have student loans out there.
Oh my goodness!
Sallie Mae is the dominant player in the private sector, or private student loans arena. Now, this is a true value company. They're trading below book value. I think their stock is around $9. Their book value is like 11.
Wow.
And their price earning ratio is like 3. So this is a true value play. And to wrap it up, I like Google as the best of both worlds stock. It's not truly a value stock. It's still kind of somewhat expensive, but it's growing like a small company, right? I think they're doing like somewhere around 20% revenues a year increase. So I really like the things that they're doing. They got a lot of things coming down the pipeline as well. They make a ton of money, and they have little debt on the balance sheet. So those are the companies that I really like. I would encourage everyone to reach out to me. I'm a growing company, and I could not only do I invest for my clients, but I try to educate as well, so everyone has a really good experience on how stocks work, why certain stocks go up, why certain stocks go down, and really try to bridge those gaps. So also, I want to leave you with this. I also have a YouTube channel as well. It's football season. So for the last couple of years, I've been doing this thing called fantasy stock ball. So what I do is I compare football players to certain stocks. Instead of fantasy football, I call it fantasy stock ball. It's been a really big hit. It really helps people kind of understand, okay, I know that football player, so you mean to tell me that this stock goes with that player? Okay, that's starting to make sense. So it's really cool. I encourage you to check it out. It's on YouTube. It's called Fantasy Stock Ball. I believe my page is New Level Investment Management, but just go into YouTube, type Fantasy Stock Ball, and pull up.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I greatly appreciate your time, and I'm more than certain these viewers will be reaching out to you because I know people are planning for their future.
So you can either visit my website, www.newlevelinvestment.com. Also, you can visit my Facebook page. I encourage you to like it because I give daily tips, stock tips, just company information. So that's Facebook, New Level Investment Management, LLC. Also, you can give me a call, 202-524-0249. And also email me, ralph@newlevelinvestment.com.
All right. The Mindy Jo News Show will be co-hosting the Symposium on the brink of Ferguson, the state of the black man in America. This symposium will be held September 25th, 2014, so just stay tuned for further details on that. Today's weather. Stand clear of confusion. Always smile. Take a deep breath and just, take notice of the blessings that's around you. Well, let's also have a moment of silence for those, people who lost their lives 13 years ago on this day, September 11th, in New York, when America faced, a very, very horrific travesty when the planes crashed into the buildings. So let's just have a moment of silence for those people who lost their lives. Well, that's all the news I have that you can absolutely use for today, September 11th, 2014. Peace.